There really is some dangerous nonsense on the internet, and I feel it incumbent upon me to raise awareness about these things to help you avoid getting into some serious trouble. Not just financial trouble, and you could end up being taken to court for debts, but you could end up being bankrupted, or you could even end up being prosecuted for theft. Now, just as there are street scammers and dodgy websites and all sorts of other fraudsters in this world, there are some misinformation videos, websites and things like that that can get you into trouble. So I've been tagged a number of times about a video talking about gas and electricity and how you don't have to pay for them. I've done a video about a similar one like this before, where it was claimed that gas and electricity are already paid for through your income taxes and things like that. Therefore, you don't have to pay for them, and really you're just paying for the meter. Of course, that's all nonsense as well. But there's a new one that lots of people have tagged me about, which is in respect of a Facebook post. Now, because so many people have tagged me and emailed me and asked me to do a video about this, I thought I would go over this for you as well. So first of all, if you do enjoy my content, please do consider liking the video and subscribing. That helps my channel grow, reach a wider audience. About 60% don't do that. I would really hope that you do, so I can reach a wider audience and help to prevent people getting into some serious trouble. So let's take a look at what this Facebook post is and what it's claiming. So essentially, this Facebook post goes through a number of different things and makes various claims and culminates in that this is all a big scam and that you don't have to pay for it. Long story short, you do have to pay for gas and electricity. It doesn't just fall from the sky. It is produced and delivered to your property, and therefore you have to pay for it. The broad statements that this post makes is, first of all, that the company that is licensed to, they don't accept that it's supplying gas. They say that the licensed company that is supposed to supply gas and electricity, it says as a statement of fact, does not supply gas and electricity that you've consumed. Now, I'll deal with all of these very succinctly just in a moment. The second thing that it says is that these companies issue a statement of account, not a bill for gas or electricity. I'm not even sure what they really mean by a statement of account as against a bill for gas and electricity. But again, we'll come back to that in a minute. It also says, as a statement of fact, that these companies are not suppliers of gas or electricity, but of credit. So subtly distinct from the first quote-unquote statement of fact that it makes, it says that it's supplying credit. Now, supplying credit would suggest that it's lending you money as opposed to credit for your energy bill or whatever. But again, we'll come to that. And so very broadly speaking, what this post is, and I'm not going to go through it word for word, but lots of people have asked about it because, as I say, lots of people have seen that video now. I think actually just taking a look at it, almost 120,000 people have seen that video, and countless more have seen the Facebook post. And some people are genuinely confused as to whether this is real or not, and whether there's any truth to this. And people do ask me the question genuinely, is there any truth to this? Is there any way around paying for these things? Now, a lot of people would love a way around paying for gas and electricity and getting them for free. I even saw one TikTok video at some point said, by law, you get free gas, electricity and water, which is obviously not true. You have to pay for them. This Facebook post, in essence, claims that going back to the privatization under Margaret Thatcher and said, how the energy markets were restructured at that time, the issuance of licenses and so on, it makes the claim that these companies that set up licenses are not directly supplying the energy to you, but just providing you credit. And therefore, it's all some sort of scam. It says that it is issuing you a credit statement, but not a utility bill, in essence, which doesn't really make sense. But then it goes further to say that they are misrepresenting the situation and therefore liable under the Fraud Act for a fraudulent misrepresentation, which of course is not true. It likens the situation to missold insurances such as PPI and the whole PPI scandal. Now, again, on the face of it, because there has been a scandal such as PPI in the past, some people will read this post and hear this video and think, maybe it's similar to that. Maybe this is some big scandal that's about to break, and therefore there's some legitimacy to it, and you really don't have to pay for it. But the reality is quite different, and the reality is quite straightforward. The reality is this. These companies that supply you electricity, that supply in the sense of they are a licensed company. They have to be licensed with Ofgem, which is the UK's regulator for energy. They obviously have a license to supply you with electricity and gas. And the reason for needing to be regulated by Ofgem, the regulator, is so that they are transparent, there's fair pricing, there's consumer protection, there's rules on back billing and so on, all of which I've dealt with in previous videos. And so to do that, they set up the account to the property, and I've dealt with a lot more detail about how all that works in another video. But in essence, they are buying the energy on the wholesale energy market, and they are selling it onto you on the retail market. And so this is actually relatively straightforward. So going back to the 1980s, the privatization was aimed to sort of foster competition and efficiency and fairness, obviously, with Ofgem and the regulator. And the licenses that were issued allowed companies to operate in this energy sector, and therefore they would buy energy in bulk on the wholesale energy market and through the distribution networks, which all of which are paid for. You'll be familiar with standing daily charges and so on. Those go towards supporting the networks, and then there is obviously the element of consumption, what you've actually used. So without going into too much detail about that, your energy bill is broken down into a bit that supports the distribution network and what you've actually consumed. So whether or not you consume any energy, if you have an account set up and energy is available to the property, you are paying these daily standing charges. Now, as I say, these companies are buying it on the wholesale market and they are selling it on to you. That is a relatively straightforward, seamless process. There is legislation in place that deems the energy company to be able to bill you for the meter that is connected to the property and so on. And if you switch energy providers, whilst on a technical sense, there is an owner of that meter, which is usually the very original company that installed it, then moving forward from that, it's the new energy supplier that adopts and takes over that meter and so on. And then each time that changes, you just enter into a contract with a new provider. Now, this post also claims that there was no contract in place. There's nothing you've ever agreed to. You can just stop and you can just stop paying. It even says that you can, challenge liability as to the cost of the energy supplied, because they claim that you've never had this agreement with this company. Now, if you want to sever any agreement with this energy company, you can do so, but they will stop providing you with energy and they will bill you for whatever has been used up to that point. So they'll give you a final bill and they can cut you off, and they might even provide you with termination charges, and they will be enforceable as well. And if necessary, they will take you to court for that and you will lose. And so some people think that they can challenge that all the way up to court and then somehow argue that they don't have to pay any of those things, but they will be wrong, because unless the energy company is billing outside of the rules, as I said, there's rules for back billing, and unless they are billing you for something that really is not correct, which they will prove in court, they will say that up to a certain point, they've billed this much and you are liable to pay that. One of the common areas of confusion is where you've changed suppliers and there's a different date. So you've paid up to a certain point and you believe that the new supplier is coming in at one point and you're paying the new supplier already, but then there's an overlap. So the old supplier bills you for a certain amount for maybe 12 days or something silly like that in between. Some people think that they don't have to pay that. And lots of these disputes end up over a week or 2 weeks of this overlap period. They think they don't have to pay. That is simply the point at which that company stops supplying the property and the new one takes over. And those are often cases that go to court, and invariably they will lose because the energy company will have quite an accurate record. Not always. There are certain situations where either the meter's not installed properly. We've had situations where the meter was attached to the wrong property, so it was genuinely wrong, or we've had the neighbours connected to their own meter, and so thus one property's been paying for two houses essentially, and their bill's been far too high. They've been paying it because they believed that it was, they had to pay it because they had no choice. But eventually they realized that it was far too high. They challenged them and then discovered that there was an error. So there are errors for these things. So this is why you need someone to investigate it. You need someone to come and look at it properly. But when it comes down to the simple matter of fact that they are supplying the property and you need to pay for that, these posts would encourage you to challenge that this agreement exists at all. They suggest that it's just a credit agreement of some kind whereby they are crediting you money to pay someone else for it. It's all frankly nonsense. So your energy company is buying it essentially on the wholesale market. They are retailing it to you, and by billing you for it on a monthly basis, yes, you are entering an agreement to pay them over time. That's why they are regulated. So a lot of people have emailed me and tagged me and asked me about this, which tells me that a lot of people genuinely think this is a real thing. And a lot of people seem to think that this might be some kind of loophole, some kind of scandal that's eventually going to blow up and mean that they've been paying all this money and that they are due a massive refund. That is not the case. But if you do like something for free, you can check out the link that's been on screen now and again, which is to Octopus Energy. You can receive £50 free for switching your energy to Octopus. I can say, hand on heart, they've been a fantastic energy company to use. They've not asked me or paid me to include this within the video at all. I use them myself and I found them to be fantastic. So head to the link in the description below, get yourself £50 for free by switching energy, and I hope that's been useful to you. So please don't fall for these kind of scams that you might see online on these Facebook posts or other videos and things like that. There are lots of them go around, but I will also link my previous video talking about why it is not correct to say that you're paying for them through your income taxes and therefore you're already paying for them and therefore it's already provided for and free and so on. So I hope that's useful. Please don't fall for these scams. Please do like the video and subscribe. And as always, thank you for watching.